everybody, what's up? This is Jared here, back again with another video. This time we're playing Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. Of all things, we're going back to a classic. This one I'm really excited about because I used to play this game all the time as a kid. So what we're using here to preface this is OpenRCT2. It's a companion app that goes along with your Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 game that basically adds a whole bunch of new features, such as scaling it to your full screen, widescreen windows, as well as adding some extra features that weren't originally in the game, because essentially what they did is ported the game to C++, which is pretty fantastic. So, I used to play the game all the time as a kid, but I never really created parks. I basically just slapped rides in there and called it good, as well as screwed around to see how many people I could kill. So this is my first real attempt at making a park. I took the time and thought this out. It's not the best park in the world. I've seen some really fantastic parks online, but I'm really proud of this because I put a lot of time and effort into this. So it's called Emerald Conceptions. The name of the park is called Emerald City. You can see there is a scenario here that you can actually play if you want to do. It's not a hard scenario by any means, but you can play it. The download link will be in the description for this, as well as the regular map to the park if you didn't want to play the scenario. Either way, it is available to you. Alright, so we're going to start right here at the entrance. You can see has the two entrances here, and it's greeted by a roller coaster going over your head. Not once, but twice. There is a park called Cedar Point in Ohio, and it has a ride called the Gatekeeper, and the Gatekeeper basically goes through the entrance to the park almost exactly like this. It just goes over your head. So I kind of wanted to replicate that here and give it kind of a very fresh and inviting vibe. And then as you can see, as you walk inside, you're greeted with kind of this very city-like atmosphere. And I really wanted to sell that, is I wanted it to feel like a city, because that's kind of what this is. This is Emerald City. So I wanted this very tight-knit, almost Universal-esque feeling city vibe, where you walk down the streets and there's stuff inside of these buildings. So what we're going to do here is we are going to go to, not underground view, but see-through scenery. And you can see there's actually stuff inside of these buildings here. There's rides on this side, and then in this side, if we turn around, you can see that there's actually a little alleyway here, and it's almost like a marketplace kind of vibe. So, we're going to move on. Here you can see there is a building for the first roller coaster. This roller coaster is called Entrance. Which I really liked the idea of naming it Entrance, because it's supposed to entrance you. As you can see, there's a lot more of a kid-friendly area. There's not a whole lot of crazy roller coasters or anything in this section of the park. That's specific. I wanted it designed that way. As you can see, I forgot to put a path to one of the places, but that's fine. We'll fix that later. So you can see, I wanted to entrance people. This is a very friendly and inviting section of the park, and I wanted it to remain that way. So we've got basically a carnival over here. I want it to be like a fairgrounds happening right on the outer edge of the city. So I got a little sign that says Carnival, and then it goes, kind of around the edge here. It goes over top of the walkway, and then kind of extends around the edge. You got this nice carnival that you can visit. Alright, so moving on, we have this area here, which is kind of like my gardens area. I really loved the way that this turned out. It looks so beautiful, the way that it turned out. But I found that a lot of people were getting lost in here, so I had to go and put these no entry signs in order to keep people on the right path, so they wouldn't end up wandering around in here, and then you get errors saying that people are lost. Okay. So as you can see, there are two bridges extending off of either side. We have one bridge going to the right and one bridge going to the left. We're going to go around this way, but before we do, I want to note something back here. If you look back, you can see there's this little area right here that looks like it's a subway station, and that's very important to note, because if you look underground, you can barely see it, but there is a ride called the Crosstown Express that you can access from under the ground here. So it's basically like a subway that goes through different areas of the park, and is the easiest way to get around the park if you're so inclined to do so. Okay, so we're going to turn the inside view back on. You can see it's nighttime now. That's one of the features of OpenRCT2, is that you're able to have a nighttime, quote-unquote, in the game, which is pretty cool. All right, as you can see, this area is a very spacey vibe, is what I was going for with this. So it's very space themed, kind of like a foreign land. It's called Spaceland in the game. So, going around here, we have one roller coaster that kind of stands out. You can see it here. It's called Dissection, which is kind of a play on words. I thought it was funny, at least. And that kind of stands out as a very large coaster, and it may look like it's the only coaster on this island, but it's actually not. As you can see, there's another one right here that shoots out, kind of supposed to look like it's coming out of this Martian pyramid thing that I designed, so I thought that was pretty interesting. And then there's actually another coaster that you might not notice unless you look close. But it only comes out right here, does a little loop-de-loop around Dissection, and then goes back in the ground almost immediately. So you barely notice it, but it's definitely there, and then it kind of makes you wonder. So actually what's interesting about this area is that a lot of the stuff in this zone is hidden. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on see-through scenery, and you can see there's another ride right here called the Corridor, which is a completely indoor ride. It's all encased in this building. It's a very, very small ride, very compact, but it's a really cool ride because it's so tight. And then you can see there is some eating space over here, as well as a motion simulator. So we turn back on the scenery, you can see kind of how that's taking place inside of this pyramid building. And then like this observation center on the outside. And then if we turn on see-through scenery and underground view, you can see that there is the entrance to, of course, our free fall ride right here. But there's also the entrance to this other roller coaster. This roller coaster is called the Cave Dweller because it takes place all underground except for this tiny little bit that shoots out, which I think was really cool. There's also another ride here called the Gravitron that's inside of this building that I made, and there's a bunch of other little rides under the ground too, which I think was really cool to incorporate so many rides underground. And that's stuff that I never used to do before because I didn't really know how, but now I know how to do all this stuff, so it's a lot of fun to toy around with. So you can see the Crosstown Express comes up from the ground right here and goes and circles around. There's a station right here in Spaceland that you can visit, and then it kind of moves on to the next section of the park, which I call the industrial section. The industrial section because really the only buildings here are this small little industrial looking buildings, and the rest of it is all roller coasters. It's really the roller coaster central of the park, which I find extremely fun. So this one's called Fuller's Folly, and essentially it goes through this factory building, which I thought was a really cool concept to play around with. It was so hard to make, but I really love the way that it turned out because it looks so cool the way that it just kind of weaves in and out of these buildings. So if I turn on see-through scenery here, you can see how it just kind of goes around these buildings. It's a really short ride, nothing too insane with it, but I really, really like it. It's probably one of my favorite additions to the park. So let's turn on see-through scenery again. And then you can see we got another entrance to a ride right here. This one is called the Cylinder. And it is a very weavy ride. It goes in and out a lot. Again, I really like the way that this one turned out because it just kind of stands out as a very smooth ride. It's not too crazy, but it's a lot of fun, very exciting to be on. And it's a lot more of a long ride compared to Fuller's Folly. Now, if you go underground, there's a little way to go underground. If you go underground, you actually can come up here by Danger Cliff. Danger Cliff is probably my favorite ride I made in the game. This one's fantastic because it goes for a very quick, speedy, and intense ride, which, as you can see, the way that the ride works, that's definitely what it accomplishes. It's a very intense ride. So that one's one of my favorite rides in the game. Alright, so we're going to move on next to this one, which is Maniac's Mini Mine. It's definitely not mini, it's one of the longest rides in the game, but it's a lot of fun because I wanted to play around with this mine concept based off of things like West Virginia and Virginia, where it's heavy coal mine territory. There's a lot of mountains and a lot of trees. So I wanted to kind of play off that, having it heavily forested and kind of really very woody, rather than like a desert mine-based ride. So I thought that was really interesting concept to play around with, and it was a lot of fun. So moving on, next is the beach area of the game, and as you can see, it kind of is a smaller area, but I wanted to play around with it a little bit. So we've got one roller coaster in here. This one is called the the Beach Bum. And the Beach Bum is just a suspended swinging roller coaster. It's very short, just kind of weaves in and out of the mountain there. And that's all there really is to it. There's a little shack station up here with some food places. And then there is more food places out here in the boardwalk. There's a little shipwreck ride out on the boardwalk. And we've got our little boat ride called freeloading on the boardwalk. Or on the water here. Sorry, not the boardwalk. And then we have a boat ride called the Logger, which I thought was a clever name. And then last but not least, we've got a little bit of go-karts here called Sandy Karts, kind of a play off of Sandy Cheeks from SpongeBob, which again I thought was a clever name. Take it or leave it. I'm not going to force you to think it is. All right, moving on. As you can see, our Crosstown Express then goes from the industrial section up here to the winter section, as well as we've got a pathway that kind of climbs up the mountain. And not only that, but we have a mountain rising high lift that goes up the mountain as well. So there's 3 ways up on top of this mountain, and 2 of them you don't even have to walk. So I wanted to provide the proper ways to get up here. So up here there's a little area. We have one coaster up here. It's called Winter Whispers. It's a bobsled coaster. It weaves in and out of these mountains. It was a lot of fun to make. The way that it kind of just circles and swishes around the mountains, it feels very wintry, especially because it's a bobsled coaster. You kind of get that vibe. And the other ride I have up here is called Fly Over the Alps, because I wanted it, the area is called the Alps in the game, and I wanted it to kind of feel like you were flying over some mountains because you're so high up. So I felt like maybe putting a flying ride up here would make sense. So that's kind of what I did there. Here's a little eating section inside of this building. So I can click on one of the chicken soup for the soul, is the name of that place right there. You can see the Crosstown Express pulls right in here. And that's all there is to that. And then it goes down into the ground again to come out back here. So we're going to ignore that for a second. We're going to rotate around here and come back around to this area. So this area is called the Elven area, except for this ride right here is not part of it. But I wanted to go for a very medieval, kind of Norse feeling section of the park. So that's kind of what I was going for here. We got one roller coaster on the outside called the Mountaineer. Kind of weaves in and out of these mountains. Again, one of my favorite rides to make. I feel like I'm saying all these are my favorite rides, but I really enjoyed the way they turned out. As you can see, I'm losing a lot of money because the park is not charging enough to enter in here, but that's fine. We've got another roller coaster here. This one's called Deja Vu. It's just one of the pre-made roller coasters. The only pre-made ride in this park. All the other ones were made by hand, but I really needed to fill this space. And I didn't know what else to put there, so I just put something together really quick. So here we have the entrance to the Elven Land. So we have these 2 castle things here, and then you walk inside, and you have a bunch of stuff. It's kind of supposed to feel like a very tight-knit neighborhoodly vibe. So a lot of smaller buildings, little small shops you can go visit. Like here we've got Max Meatballs, and then there is a maze inside of this building here. And then there is a little circus that you can go to called the Elven Dispatchery, where the elves put on a show. That's the idea anyway. And then there is a little walkway up here so you can enjoy the waterfall, because there's a waterfall here coming down from the mountain that I made. So I really liked that waterfall, and I wanted to kind of show it off. So we made a little walkway up to the waterfall. Still no path coming from the underground flight. That's a bummer. But There is one roller coaster here in Elvenland. There's actually two. I'm going to show you the other one in a second, but it doesn't really count as part of inside of the Elvenland. But this roller coaster is called the Archer. Again, playing off of that medieval vibe. I wanted it to feel like it's just darting through the woods here. So that's the vibe I was going for. It's not a super long ride or anything, but it just kind of darts in and out of the woods. And it was a lot of fun to make, and it kind of starts right here in the castle, which I thought was pretty cool. And you can see the outlying parts of the village here in Elvenland. Alright, moving on to the last part is called the Archer in Training. It's a junior roller coaster called the Archer in Training because it's supposed to be the little brother to the Archer. And again, it kind of zooms in and out of these, but at a lot slower and a lot less intense pace for the kiddos. Alright, moving on to the last little bit. As you can see, you just cross the bridge and you are back into Emerald City again. So that's pretty much the tour of the whole park. Before I go, I just wanted to cover a couple of little interesting notes. The first of which is that all of my places have custom names, except for the Toffee Apple Market stall, which I thought I named, but apparently something happened and it got unnamed, which is interesting. I'll have to fix that later. But all these places have names. And not only do they have names, but I also put in parentheses the location of each of these places because there's 44 different shops and stalls. So when you got that many of something, you know, you don't want to have to go searching around for it. So it's easy when everything's just named for you, which is nice. Same thing with our information kiosks. There's all named by location so that it makes it easy to find them. And then of course all of our rides have custom names, which is nice as well. Another interesting note is that I have all of my people have names. You might think I'm some kind of genius for being able to come up with names for everybody, but really I just Googled a list of common names and then I went down the list and named everybody something from the list. So everybody has names. Probably got over 150 employees or something in this park, and they walk around and keep things safe, which is the primary goal of employees. But yeah, that is my whole park. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed this look at it. This is something I've never done before, especially never to this scale. It was a lot of fun doing, and I'd love to do more stuff like this in the future, but I don't know if I'd do a park this large. I definitely might go for something a little bit smaller. But it was a lot of fun to create. If you liked it, please do download it from the links in the description below, and then I hope you have a wonderful day. If you like this video, please like it, and if you want to give me some feedback, let me know how I did on this park or on this video. Please leave a comment down below, and if you have any other things to say, please comment down below as well. And if you want to see more stuff like this, please do subscribe because I make new stuff all of the time, so you get to see that stuff first. Thank you guys. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.